It's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. A small bit of a out of sync podcast because we normally do 9:30. Went a small bit early, and we didn't tell anybody we were even bloody going live. So we said we had to, because, to be honest with you, last night's game, the more and more we hear about the game. It's 20 years since we did what we did last night, and it's put us in a really, really good position to to hopefully continue to climb the table over the next few weeks. But I couldn't mark that without having Paddy's opinion on that game last night, because Paddy was watching that in the woolshed with the Leinster Lions. And Paddy, what was the night like?
Well, the most important thing is we got the result, and that's what we were talking about before the game. The night went bizarrely, I have to say, and I meant to message you today to go and clip up what I said last night about there not being many goals in this game. You might still do that and have a look for it and find it. But it was a bizarre turn of events. And you know, it nearly sets down a marker for how the game is going to go now when you hear Martinez is injured in the warm-up, and you're just like, oh, Jesus Christ. But you're more annoyed that, you know, you're creating a headline ahead of anything even happening. So, not that we were particularly worried about Marco Bizot. We'll get to him in a while. A few things to talk about there. But that set the tone for a worry, what was always a worry. And you want to be with your best players. You want to have your best players available. You wanted him between the sticks. And it wasn't to be. So, you immediately feel like you're on the back foot, and that sets the tone in my head anyway for what's coming for the next couple of hours. But I wasn't to expect nobody expected what happened, and what came about was just absolutely bizarre to go 2 goals down and come back in the manner we did, and then to concede again later on. But we can't afford to keep playing one half of games. We all know that. We're going to be tested on Saturday with that. If we're not playing to full tilt, good teams are going to punish us. I felt Brighton punished us in the first half, getting the 2 goals early on, putting us on the back foot, and leaving us a mountain to climb. But happily, we've got the great explorer who's well able to climb mountains, and managed to get us back in the driving seat. And oversee what is ultimately a strange night, absolutely bizarre atmosphere, and to see those away fans just absolutely lose their shit when that 4th goal went in was amazing. Topped off with goals from Ollie Watkins, just what we wanted to see, and an absolute bizarre assist for Evan Gassant.
But that's Puskas Award stuff, Paddy. You can't put a price on how incredible, like, the vision Gassand had there to get that assist is just. I think that's the most underrated part of the whole game, of his game. It's just that this vision he has is incredible.
Yeah, but such bizarre headlines coming out of the game, like Unai Emery not being able to put his jacket back on and stuff like that.
You know, hilarious stuff.
It was just bizarre. Hilarious. You know, it just reminded me of Balotelli trying to put his bib on. But whatever way he pulled it off, he'd pull the sleeves back in on top of each other, and he couldn't get them out, which was hilarious.
We have form for that. Remember, Tiger Tim fired his jacket into the crowd. Then he couldn't get it back, and then when he got it back, he couldn't get it on either. Yeah. So
was that a gilet?
I think it was actually a full jacket. I saw the video of it today. I can't remember who had it. It was somebody on Twitter had it up today, and I watched it and I had a little chuckle at that as well because he fired it into the crowd. But yeah, interesting one. You mentioned about it.
Go on, sorry.
No, go ahead. I thought you were finished. Oh.
Yeah, overall, an utterly bizarre turn of events. Bizarre officiating on the game, has to be said. We don't just sit back and let them away with it because we won the game. They were absolutely abysmal last night. Absolutely abysmal. Letting stupid fucking tackles go when all you have to do is book one of them and that ends it. No, let it go, let it go, let it go. Then books John McGinn for putting the ball where the free kick should have been taken from. How dare he?
There was a couple of things, yeah. There was, as I said in the Claret and Blue last night, Andy Badley makes the fans madly. You know, because he was bad for both sets of fans last night. Like, you know,
he was just piss poor. But ultimately,
it was us. Handball, everything.
Yeah, but like, there was no foul on Bizot for the goal. He was just poor for the goal. But when they showed the replay, I was trying to figure out what they're looking at. Pau Torres' shirt is pulled up around his nipple, and that's fine. Obviously, that's fine. So, like, is this the way it's going to be? The start of last season, they were clamping down on people pushing and dragging in the box. That never materialized because the people they wanted to win were pulling and dragging the most in the box. And then, like, some of the decisions he made, the penalty decision, the penalty decision irked me the most, and it irked me the most after Ollie Watkins scored, that they can go into that much detail to see Evan Gasson gets a slight touch on the ball before Ollie Watkins puts it away, but they ignore the fact that a fella gets a slight touch on him and it's a stonewall penalty. If that's Liverpool against Brighton, it's a stonewall penalty. If that's Arsenal against United or Arsenal against Brighton, it's a stonewall penalty. It's just utterly bizarre that these absolute clowns are ruining our game. Absolutely ruining our game. Like, I've said it so many times, I can't watch a game as a neutral. Ironically enough, now I'm going to meet a number of Villa fans to more talk about Villa, but we were going to watch Man United play
West
Ham, but we won't see an awful lot of it. We were just talking about how great last night was and how utterly bizarre this turnaround is to have us in third place now after the first 5 games. It's just hard to fathom that we're in that position. But look, here we are, looking down on most, and you know we've kicked off a tough December very, very well. Hoping and praying we can get something out of Saturday, but really enjoyed last night. Really enjoyed the determination that we showed to get back into the game and to really. People will start looking around now. It's amazing the last couple of weeks to see people talking about Aston Villa from those who are going, God, you're really in the shit with what's going on in that club. And now the shit, they're really talking out the other side of their mouth at this stage, which is great.
My postman, some of you guys might remember about 6 weeks ago, maybe a bit more, I put a message that I put up on Twitter. My postman he doesn't actually really follow football, but every time I meet him at the door, I work from home, and every time doorbell rings and I go out and meet him at the door, he obviously a full-blown chat about Aston Villa with me because he knows I do a Villa podcast. He delivers stuff anyway. But so he turns around to me about 6 weeks ago and goes, "Oh yeah, I see your man Carlo Weather. He's a Villa fan as well. I think I'm going to follow Villa because of him." And I was there standing at the door going, "Thanks a million, buddy. I have a chat with you every day." But the thing I'm getting at here is that, you know, he had a chat with me again this morning about that game, and he was able to tell me in depth what was going on in how the game went and everything like that. And you know, it is one of those situations where last night's game could be kind of the breaking of the dam for a lot of people when they see 4-3 Villa were down 2-0 after what 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. And, you know, that could be a breaking of the dam for people to step up and take notice, like it was 2 years ago when we beat Arsenal and Man City in 2 in a row. And I was on TalkSport 2 today, and I was chatting to I was on the social around 4 o'clock if anybody wants to go back and listen to it. And I was chatting about that, and the guys are trying to get me to say that Villa were in a title race. But I can't really bring myself to do that just yet because it's the hope that kills you. But the way that I left it was like they were going, this is an incredible run Villa was on. And I was just so effusive in praise of Unai Emery because that's exactly who should get the praise for this. He's an incredible manager with an incredible resume. We're doing incredible things, and arguably the best management of his whole career is coming in it for this team in Claret and Blue currently at this moment in time. And it's because it's been done over a concerted period of time. Yes, his Villarreal days are up there. You know, winning Europa League, which we hope he does with us this year, and getting to the Champions League semi-final. You know, they're all big things that he's done in his career. But you know, doing what he's doing in the Premier League, which is arguably a way more difficult league than La Liga, I think is something that he'd be proud of. But yeah, so it's, as you say, people are standing up and taking notice of Aston Villa, and that's good. And you know, get a result at the weekend, and it's even better. You know, that's when people will really stand up and take notice against the champions elect, the team that people have basically already. I don't know. Did one bookmaker start paying out on them already? I can't remember
I didn't hear that.
if that happened. Yeah. So anyway, it's a good place to be. You mentioned Marco Bizot, Paddy. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, well, look, obviously the standout thing is you know, he made a world class save right at the end, and he was poor for the first goal. You know, in between, couldn't do a whole lot with the second or third goal as it happened, but in between, I thought he did pretty well. I thought he was solid with his feet. Good, decent pair of hands. I just love to know what the reasoning is for getting involved in a pushing match with a guy, and then ultimately getting caught underneath the ball and us conceding from it. That was disappointing for me. But having said that, we've seen Emi Martinez set the world on fire, and knocking the lights out in games, and still pulling off one of those ricks that he has in him, especially in the bigger games. We've seen him, you know, throw the ball into the net more or less against Liverpool last year or 2 years ago, kicking the ball out to Salah. You know, there's a number of things like that. The brain fart of going and taking out Rasmus Højlund, and yet, you know, we rallied, we got back, and we won the game. But I was happy for him that we didn't lose the game because of what he done, and to see his name up in lights with the save at the end was even more special.
That's the thing for me. So like my big thing with Bizot and even Hollingshead as well, come onto the bench, like that guy must have been kind of like what's going on behind you, like me at the moment, with like headlight. You must have been looking into the headlights at the moment last night. But you know, Bizot has to come in, and you know, you have to be mentally strong, especially when you're probably the most mentally strong position in the whole field is the sub goalkeeper, because you get no time to prepare yourself. And Bizot have very little time as well to prepare himself coming in. So midway through the warm up, Martinez pulls up. They're probably treating him on the side of the field. They take him inside, and I don't know, that Marco Bizot probably only gets a 5-minute warm up at that stage, and then has to go and get changed and come out and play a game. You know, so to be able to come back from that, make that brilliant save at the end, and look really good outside of that first goal. Fair play to him. You know, that the mental fortitude, getting back up off the canvas is a fighter's best attribute. You know, you get knocked down, don't let the doubts creep into the back of your mind. You brush it off. You stick to your game plan, and you come out swinging again. And that's what Bizot did. Fair play to him. I thought that, you know, like there has to be teams in the Premier League that are looking at their first choice goalkeeper and looking at our situation and go, how in the jeez do we let Villa get him for like 2.5 to 3 million? How did we do that? You know? So fair play to Marco Bizot and his
and in fairness,
he was doing there.
We don't know this for sure, but he could have potentially been signed as Emi Martinez replacement. We don't know, and he's been nothing but professional in everything he's done. So I'm delighted for him to get an opportunity to shine. He's done it a few times already. It's slightly worrying that Emi Martinez again was injured in the warm up. By all accounts, and I've spoken to a few people who were at the game, it didn't take too much part in the warm up itself, which leads me to believe that perhaps there was something niggling before he got there, and they realised very early on in the warm up that he wasn't going to be ready, which means that Marco Bizot would have known before he rocked up to the stadium yesterday that there could have potentially been a problem. So he would have been part of the training scenario throughout the week throughout the week. They only got a couple of days really training after the weekend, but I'm pretty sure by what people have said that he knew there was a possibility he played last night.
Maybe so, yeah. Either way, as I say, I don't care. He played well. He played well outside of the first calamitous goal, and it was calamity at the back post. Like, Morgan Rogers can't defend the back post. He's just not able to do it. He can never do it. In every single game, he cannot do it. It's just, and that's fine. He's just not able to defend the back post. That's why he's there. He's out of the way there. But if the ball and that's why I've always said Aston Villa's back post defensive strategy is Emi Martinez. So if the ball evades him and you're left with Morgan Rogers there, or if Martinez gets caught in traffic and Morgan Rogers is there, cross your fingers. And that's fine. I don't expect him to be brilliant at absolutely every aspect of the game. John McGinn, it's a thankless job at the back post as well, because John McGinn used to have it as well. And I will never, ever, ever forget Yannick Vestergaard on John McGinn at the back post against Southampton. And I think Danny Ings might have scored for Southampton that day as well. And it was like ragdoll stuff back there for Vestergaard and McGinn. So it's a thankless job at the back post. And look, it is what it is. And we came back from it and did well. Paddy, I think our defense has a lot to be proud of, and I think two players in our defense, and one player that I often get critical about in defense, Ian Maatsen, but I'll get to him in a moment. But I think Pau Torres for me yesterday is massively the unsung hero in that whole game, specifically for the first goal. But I think you saw him pointing to where he wanted players. He was looking to take on the ball more and to be that quarterback that sat in the pocket like he was 2 years ago. I thought he kind of elevated his game an awful lot. What did you make of Pau Torres, specifically that run that he made for the first goal? I thought it was amazing.
Well, he has that in him, and let's be honest, he's a much better footballer when we're playing footballing sides. It's when we're being hit on the break that he finds himself in trouble, as we saw with the second goal. But in general, when we play a side, a good footballing side, there's plenty of space. There's plenty of ball playing actions on his behalf. I know that sounds bloody stupid. He's a footballer, but he's more time on the ball. He's more time to pick his pass. They're more of a zonal press than a player on player press, and he's just a good footballer. And I'm really surprised he hasn't. Maybe he doesn't have the engine or the legs for it, but I'm really surprised he hasn't nurtured him into a defensive central midfielder, because you think he probably doesn't have the tackling prowess either in that position. But you think it'd be made for him, as you say, that quarterback position where he literally dictates the play. But to step into that from a left-sided centre back and pick off passes, which we've seen over the years, like it was his pass that led to Duran's goal against Bayern Munich. He has it in his locker. So we know what he brings to it, but other teams have been not wise to it. But when they've got that defensive stability and they let two fellas run like lunatics, charging down players and whatever in that half, that's when he struggles. But these games are made for him. The Arsenal game should be made for him as well, and the rest of what's coming in December. But by far and away, I thought. One of those games where you looked at every action he did and thought, this guy is the silent leader we don't know we have. You could see he is he's conducting the orchestra, and he's dictating where players are running by his movement on the ball. So Ollie Watkins loves it, as we know, because he's done it many times. That ball over the top for Ollie Watkins to run onto hasn't always come to goals, but has definitely come to a lot of chances. But he's just got so much to offer. He really has. Cotton's Cash, both brilliant. Still question marks, I think, over Maatsen in a defensive position. But I think he's still got time. I wouldn't be overly critical of him because he's brought in there to do a job, which is to support the attack, from what I can see. And in the games, like, I've absolutely no doubt in my mind that in games like Arsenal at the weekend, we're going to see Luca Dean at left back. That's just the way it is. He's a better tackler. He's a better defender. It's just he doesn't have all the other attributes and the speed that Ian Maatsen has.
Yeah, I think for me, Ian Maatsen was Ian Maatsen's most complete performance of the year last night. I think he was really good in defence. Borne out by the numbers, he won 10. Did he win 10 of his duels? I think that's what it was. And like, there was times yesterday when he went to ground, I just thought he made the right decision, and he didn't get sucked into playing as an inverted fullback. He in the high line, he didn't neglect to look over his shoulder to see was there anybody hugging the touchline, like what happened against Go Ahead Eagles and happened against Manchester United in the last day of the season last year. he's learning. And I thought last night was his most complete performance, topped off by his brilliant attacking play throughout the whole lot of last night, being that extra option. He kept Mats Wiefer kind of honest in a lot of ways. I know Wiefer came forward and was playing more inverted and was actually like, Wiefer's converted central midfielder. Like he played central midfield for PSV, if I'm not mistaken, or was it Feyenoord? I always get mixed up who he played with. And he was playing right back for them, so he had to do a job there, and I think he did. So well done, Team Matson, yesterday. I think that was a fantastic outing for him yesterday, and long may it continue. But like you, I think we will see Digne in there against Arsenal at the weekend, albeit that he could throw the spanner in the works and he could put a Matson in there to deal with the pace, obviously, of the Arsenal forwards. But bring it on. Like, I'm not concerned about who goes in there currently at the moment, because this defense is playing very coherently from the point of view of, like, yes, I know we conceded 3 goals last night, but before last night we had conceded the second least amount of goals in the league. And that's been one of the highlights of what Aston Villa have done. We've conceded half the amount of goals that we did at this time last year as well. And that's a massive positive, because this time last year, everyone was saying, what's gone wrong with our defense? Unai Emery seems to have put a suture across that defense at the moment. And we're not leaking as many goals. But obviously, that's easy to say easy to say before we conceded 3 goals last night. But last night was always going to be a shootout at the OK Corral. Like, once we went 4-2 up, Brighton were always going to come back at us. So, one of those outlier games, and hopefully we don't have a shootout at the weekend against Arsenal. And if we do, hopefully we come out on top. Paddy, there's somebody we need to give a big shout out to today.
Oh yes, there is. The biggest of shout outs, the once yearly shout out to the king, the god himself. Happy birthday to young Paul McGrath. Aged 66 today, gets his bus pass. What a legend. Absolutely.
And Kevin Richardson. I don't know what age Kevin Richardson is as well, but for posterity, just don't want you to be forgotten, Kevin. But as this is called For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast and not For the Love of Kevin Richardson podcast, we will lavish the praise on God and Macca himself. And hopefully he's a fantastic birthday, and many more to come.
That this impromptu podcast was just purely so we could wish him a happy birthday, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. And you're in Wexford at the moment, so I don't rule out that you're going to have a skin full of pints and go looking for him at some stage tonight. Could happen. So could happen.
Maybe he's watching the podcast. He's going to come looking for me.
Yeah, exactly. Right, I think we're going to leave it at that, guys. I just wanted to pop on. I wanted to have a chat with Paddy and get his thoughts on it. We will have a preview tomorrow. We're actually hoping to try and maybe get a guest on as well tomorrow. Just another voice, have a triumvirate of voices on the podcast tomorrow. It'd be nice to kind of change it up for that Arsenal game. So come watch us, or come join us for that. It'll be 9:30 again tomorrow, I think. And then obviously on Saturday, then we will have our pre-match and post-match as well as normal. I will say, caveat, there's about a 5% chance that the post-match may not happen. Not because I expect us to lose, but because I'm going to see Santa Claus and my little nippers. So it just depends on injury.
We might push it out. Yeah, I'm going to be in the pub at Noel Connaughton, so it could be a messy Saturday.
Okay. Oh yeah, you are actually in the pub. Yeah, actually, do you know what? I might, after we see Santa, I might. If you inside in the house, my keeper and minder, if you're watching this, I might go for pints with Noel and Paddy. All right, just now, no, everyone here is a witness. I've told her I'm going for pints with Noel and Paddy. So then when I actually just say I'm going on Saturday, she can't say that I didn't tell her. All right, that's them's the rules. That's how happy marriages work, isn't it? Yeah, I think that constitutes that. Anyway, right, so we're going to leave it at that, guys. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Santa for 3 points, says Dell. There was actually 1 or 2 other ones there. So Sniff Rat says we're creeping up towards 10,000 subs as well. Thank you so much to everybody who subscribes to the podcast. I think we're at just shy of 9,500. be great to get to 10,000 at some stage, just for nothing other than this, than a vainglorious project to get to 10,000 would be absolutely fantastic.
We did get
enjoy
10,000
What
before.
was this? What?
We did get to 10,000 before.
That was only on
There
Twitter.
were robots and they dropped. Oh, it was Twitter, was it?
That was
Oh,
on
right,
that was
okay.
on Twitter. Yeah. That was on Twitter. Conveniently enough, around October last year, there was like 1,000 people started following me, and then all dropped off around the 7th or 8th of November, which was really strange. Joystick Media, I hope we kept you going for that 30 minutes, and I hope you can run, but you can't hide on the treadmill. Remember that. You can't run away from us as well. But thanks so much, everybody, for watching and for listening tonight. We will be back again tomorrow, as I say, with a preview, and then Saturday with two podcasts again. So this is brilliant. I'm loving supporting Aston Villa like I have done for the last 40 odd years of my life. And these are the really good times. So the more we can talk about it, the better. Anyway, everybody, mind yourselves, stay safe, stay healthy. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.
The Villa.